So, I recently discovered the word Desiderium. I think that's how I pronounce it anyway. It was a word with which I must confess I was unfamiliar. It is an English word, though borrowed from the Latin. It wasn't in my particular vocabulary, and I only stumbled across it because I was looking up the music and biography of the Cape Verdean singer Cesara Evora. A friend of mine had told me about her, and I was researching her. Anyway, in the article I read about Evora, I learned that her most famous song is probably Saudade, which means, and here I'm going to mispronounce the Portuguese, saudade, which is a Portuguese word which, if it is translated as at all, is sometimes rendered desiderium, and that means in turn a kind of anguished longing, somewhere between nostalgia and grief, a desire for something or someone who is forever lost. My thoughts went immediately to my parents, of course. Theirs was a genuine love story. They met, so long ago. She was a pretty car hop at a drive-in. He was a handsome young sailor. One thing led to another. Somehow decades flew past. And when all was done and said, he was a physicist and she had a Ph.D., and they were still together through thick and thin and much in between. But then, of course, my mother had her second stroke. My father never gave up on her, not even for a moment. He was always with her, always making certain she was comfortable, spending long days with her at the home. He never lost hope that she would one day come back to him. Only she didn't. In 2014, she was gone. My father hung in there for another year. I think chiefly he wanted to see his grandson married. But then, when that was done, he was done. So he left us. I was flattered that he had stayed as long as he did. After all those years of marriage, he would not remain among us without her. So, Desiderium. To desire most what you had once but cannot have now. Okay, the next part of my story. You remember I was researching the singer Cesara Evora, and by extension, the genre of Portuguese music known as fado, which is desiderium, or saudade, incarnate sad songs of beautiful loss. But then something, kind of bizarre happened. In the comments section of one of the articles I was reading, I ran across an individual who rejected Evora herself and her music. He was angry and polemical and said her music, like fado, and I suppose the American blues too, was masochistic. It, quote, cherished sadness and, quote, privileged, unquote, hopelessness and helplessness. Better by far, this person said, to preach self-improvement and personal responsibility and standing on your own 2 feet, or maybe conversely, to preach revolution, and thus to overcome oppression. To the barricades, everyone. I was startled, stunned, really. Clearly the man was a fool. Well, I suppose it could have been a woman, but man or woman, idiocy, alas, is not gendered. But a fool either way, because the music, fado, the American blues, Elton John, sad songs, whatever, that music is beautiful and it appeals to something deeply human. But also, let us confess, call it desiderium, call it whatever you like, it is an important and a valuable emotional state. It is something to be cultivated, even loved. Because here's the reality. Eventually, every passion, every love story, every life is tragic. Because eventually they end. Short of the resurrection, in which I doubt, or some medical panacea effective against death itself, which I doubt even more, we will all experience loss. We will all know grief and pain. So I submit that there is something healthy in the, quote, masochism, unquote, of desiderium. It is natural, it is organic, it mitigates, in however small a way, the pain of living, rather in the same and equally natural way that the brain releases endorphins to ease our torments. Besides, well, and here I'm going out on a limb, but stay with me. Could it be, perhaps, that with our longing, with our desire, with our hopeless, nostalgic memory of what we will never have again, we provide in some strange way life to what is lost, so long as we desire them, so long as we envision them, so long as we adore them, even if only in memory? Are they not, in some fashion, still with us, still in this world? Yes, I know it is a pale substitute for genuine immortality, but given our options at the moment, given reality, maybe it is the only choice we have, the only alternative to utter oblivion. So here is to Desiderium, here's to Phaedo and the blues, here's to the deathless talent of the great Evora. May we not need them, or at least not need them soon. But when the day comes, may we know them, and take whatever comfort there is to be had in their sweet, sad, and melancholy love.